What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today I just want to talk about something that I found really interesting. Me and someone else, No Rumble, he also posted about this. So I posted a story on Instagram, literally just like, I know on my Instagram account there's loads of Pokemon collectors, right? Loads of people into Pokemon, but I know loads of them are into anime as well. And I just find it interesting that they collect cards, they collect Pokemon cards, but they're not necessarily collecting anime trading cards despite really enjoying anime. And that got me thinking, like, what prevents people from getting into it? Because if you're already collecting cards and you're already really into anime, like, why aren't you collecting anime cards? Because yeah, tons of accounts out there that I know. And I put up a story, shout out to No Rumble, he put up a post, so you can still check out that post and see the comments on it now. And yeah, some really interesting sort of takes and opinions and reasons as to why people don't do it. To be honest, a lot of it did come down to money. Like, there's already so much they want to collect in Pokemon in terms of the cards, the sets, English, Japanese. Like, there's already so much there for them to collect that they can't really afford then collecting a whole nother trading card game. And let's be honest, like, anime trading cards, especially compared to Pokemon, like a popular anime trading card set and the chase card, you're looking at anywhere between like $500 to $1,000 for the average chase card. Now obviously they've got like serialized pen signed cards, and they're even a different ball game. They're even more expensive because they're obviously ridiculously rare. But generally speaking, if you look at the last couple of years in terms of things like that, in terms of English sets and the popular sets, I mean, those chase cards aren't cheap, and the pull rates are really, really hard if you're trying to pull that chase card right. So it's not even like it's affordable, like it's very expensive if you're after those big cards. Whereas actually Pokemon, usually, maybe not right now because Surge and Sparks and there's a lot of modern boom going on with Pokemon, but usually the chase card in Pokemon sets is a couple of $100 at best, right? Or maybe even like just at $100 or $150. Surge and Sparks has obviously gone crazy, and we're looking at $500 Pikachu and things like that. But generally speaking, the chase cards aren't that expensive compared to anime TCG. So it makes complete sense that people just can't afford it, because it is actually more expensive if you're going after those big cards. Now, obviously, you don't have to go after the big cards. You can still collect way cheaper cards. But I get it, completely understand. If you're struggling with Pokemon, you're not going to afford a whole nother card game at the same time and be able to collect both. So that makes complete sense. Now, there obviously were some other opinions and reasons as to why people collect. And also, I remember when I first got into it back in sort of 2021, and I still remember the reasons why I was a bit hesitant. So I'll go over that at the end of the video as well. But yeah, there were some other opinions, like there's so much choice, I kind of don't know where to start. And this is why I made a video fairly recently about, I did like a guide for getting into anime TCGs, like where do you start, what do you pick? Because at the moment, in terms of English, we have several different sort of anime TCGs, whereas you go back a couple of years, you pretty much had Weiss Wars English, that was it. Whereas now you've got Weiss Wars, One Piece, Union Arena, you've got Universes doing different sets with animes as well. So there's lots going on. And I know if I was coming into it and there was all of that, I can't remember what the saying is, but like too much choice and people end up not choosing anything because it's just, you want to make the best choice, but you don't necessarily want to spend all the time investing trying to figure out what that best choice is. So you don't do anything. You just don't choose. There's a word or a saying for it. I can't remember what it is, but that's it summed up, right? So we've now got all of this different choice, and when you're putting money in, and obviously, as I said, the chase cards are very expensive. When you're putting that money in, you want to try and pick the best one. You don't want to pick one that you spend $1,000 or £1,000 on one card, and then a couple of years later, you can't even sell it. You struggle to sell it even at half the price or something like that. Like, people don't want to lose their money. You still want to enjoy collecting, obviously, but people don't want to just spend that money and know that maybe I won't get this back. Now, that was actually something that I kind of, that was my thoughts when I first got into it. And even back then, like, things were a lot cheaper. And I remember, like, when I spent money on Pokemon cards, it didn't feel like I'd spent the money, because it still felt like if I bought a Pokemon card for £100, it felt like that money's still there. Even if I bought a graded, you know, vintage card for £1,000, it still felt like, well, if I need that money, I just sell it, get the money back. Like, the value's still there, and it's really liquid. It's really easy to sell. Like, it's so easy to sell Pokemon compared to these anime TCGs, especially if you're in the UK. Like, the anime TCGs in the UK can be very niche. One Piece is definitely so much more popular. You've got sold listings on eBay. You can sell that a lot easier on eBay and things like that. But some of these other anime TCGs is just, they are super niche. So trying to sell things can be very difficult. So when even when I got into it, I remember buying some Attack on Titan signed SP cards. And even then they were like 3 or 4 years old. And they kind of cost me, I feel like they were like £75 a card. And then eventually Weiss had a bit more of a boom, and that they went up to a few £100. But I remember when I bought them for £75, it felt like I'd spent the money, and it wasn't necessarily money I could easily get back. Obviously it got a bit more popular, so then it did kind of seem like, oh, you know, it's fine, like there's loads of people collecting this. Obviously now we've had a drop off, we've got all these other anime TCGs, all this choice, and I feel like, you know, Weiss Schwarz particular has had a bit of a drop off. I do feel like out of the ones I've mentioned, like One Piece is definitely the most popular. Obviously in the UK, Union Arena didn't even release here. So to be honest, they were the main reasons. One, that they can't afford to just collect a whole nother trading card game on top of Pokemon, along with the fact that there's so much choice, they don't know where to start. You know, you're going to have to spend time researching and, you know, trying to figure out which one to go with. And then you've also got the fact of, it kind of just feels like money spent, that it won't necessarily hold its value as well as Pokemon may, because let's be honest, Pokemon, in terms of value, unless you're buying at a peak hype or something like that, when something is trending and you're buying things that have already gone up a lot in price, it's kind of very hard to actually make a loss in terms of Pokemon card collecting. So yeah, I mean, I completely understand that, and I just thought it was really interesting, because it was just something I kind of thought about and was like, do you know what? Why don't they collect these anime cards? They're clearly into it. And yeah, I guess they were the reasons. You know, there's one that I guess I've tried to help with by making a video of like a guide to get into collecting anime TCGs. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't help it when people just simply don't have the money to be able to fund 2 different card games, especially when those anime card games can be very expensive if you want those big chase cards. I completely get it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you've got any thoughts or comments below as to maybe some other reasons, or maybe before you got into collecting anime cards, you remember your reasons as to why you weren't sure about getting into it, yeah, let me know down below. I'd be really interested to hear your guys' comments. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.